2023 Scams event. My name's Philip Lovell, I'm the President of Neighbourhood Watch 3193 and I'm chairing tonight's meeting, so anyone that misbehaves will be thrown out. Someone else like to do it, I can't walk. So I said we're on a very tight schedule and we had the lady from the police say that she wasn't coming and now she's coming again, which is good. Okay? So, well, she had a major incident somewhere, so that's what happens with the police. They can't be predictable. I thank all my committee that are here tonight in green shirts for their support and all their efforts, and particularly this bloke here, Jeff Bransbury, OAM. What a fantastic bloke he is. And Mary, his wife over here, she couldn't have done better really if we look back. So the purpose tonight is to make you aware of some of the newer and more sophisticated scams that are around. And there are a lot around at the present time. And as Jeff said, with my notes he presented to me, knowledge is power. If you can understand what's going on, that's power. So just to point out that we really haven't looked at all the individual speakers' presentations, so there may be some overlap, but that's fine. We can't do anything about that. So Jeff, I will hand over to you and away you go.
Thank you. So the first question, who's been scammed?
Higher.
I know, it's shocking, isn't it? But you're not alone, obviously, and it's one of these things that people feel embarrassed about being scammed. Sorry, I was having my hand actually, I'm holding it. Yeah, look, people feel embarrassed about being scammed, and I've been scammed. I felt one of those the posters arriving, you know, in the mail, and this was about 3 years ago, and I put it onto my computer, and the computer froze. And Dimitri, who's over here, he's a magician. Anyone know Dimitri from BlackRock Electronics? He's on our panel. Yes. Sure, a lot of people do. He said, well, there's nothing you can do about it. Just got to you either pay the money, because it was one of these crypto scams. You either pay the money or you completely wipe the computer. So I wiped the computer. So anyway, so I'm as much as mum as anybody. I just want to go some statistics. Would you believe, and these statistics are a little bit rubbery, I think, they're from the ACCC. Yeah, $3.1 billion that we're losing in scams, and that's in 2022, up by 81%. Isn't that terrifying? And it's just getting worse, because they're getting cleverer. So we've just got to be cleverer still, at least conscious of it. Just all the ages, everyone's at risk. It's not just us oldies, it's even Daniel here. Daniel's from the secondary college is one of our speakers in a minute. But 65%, we're 22% of us you know, get scammed. So yeah, there we go. But if you look at down the list there, anything else, unless you're under 18, you've got a problem. Wouldn't it be nice to be under 18 again, eh? Anyway, the other thing, so who loses the most money? Well, I'm glad to say it's not us oldies that lose the most money. It's the 55 to 64 age group. But look at even the young people are losing money. It's terrible. So, who gets scammed? How do you get scammed? Well, mostly it's on the phone and text. That's 60%. Amazing, isn't it? I always thought it would be internet or social media, but that's not the case. It's phone or text, email 23%, but internet's only 7%, social media hardly anything. It seems strange, but one would think that would expand. When it comes to top 3 scams, now this is on money. This is not on the number of scams. This is on the amount of money lost. Investment scams, which Colin is going to talk about, is 1.5 billion in 22. So a huge amount of money lost on these investment scams. We'll go through what they are in a minute. Remote access scams, that's what you got done, wasn't it, Lorraine? Lorraine had an NBN access scam and lost $20,000, didn't she? But she got it back, which is good. But anyway, it's when they take over your computer, and you let them take over your computer, and that leads one thing to another, and before you know where you are, your bank account has been robbed. And fake invoices, that's a very serious scam that we're getting a lot of now, and we'll show you a video later on that. So, at this point, I'm going to, this is very exciting for us. Daniel Anderley here, from Beaumaris Secondary College, has offered to talk to us about scams, and this is will everyone give him a big hand of applause?
So hi, my name's Daniel. I'm year 8, and I'm going to be presenting the threats that are most common for teenagers. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a great pleasure to stand before you to talk to you about the digital threats that affect your children. I am proudly representing the speech on behalf of the Year 8 swag team to talk to you about the ever-growing part of your children's lives. In the ever-changing world of the internet, children are constantly faced with scams and challenges, and are constantly being forced to choose right and wrong on the internet. It is your job as adults to protect and educate your kids on how to stay safe online. Recently, there has been a concerning increase in the amount of scams that are targeted at kids. So you adults need to step in now more than ever. Scams are constantly evolving and changing, but they usually come in a few forms. Social media. Social media scams are by far the most effective against kids and exposes all kinds of risks for your children. In these types of scams, so-called influencers will exploit the impressionability and sometimes naiveness of youth to try to get them to buy their product or click their link. They usually promise something too good to be true, and most of the time it is. These types of scams are most commonly found on TikTok or other video-based social media apps. Online shopping scams. Over the past few years, there has been a large increase in the amount of online shopping scams. Teenagers are promised luxury goods for incredible prices, but 9 times out of 10 they will see counterfeit products or nothing at all. Kids often fall for this trap because friends or influencers will recommend it, even though it's untrustworthy. Fake emails. While less common, fake emails pose a large threat to our children. Fake emails pose as trusted brands or websites, trying to get your children to click on harmful links. This can create a range of issues, such as malware or credit card fraud. Free in-game items. Free game items are one of the most successful scams for children, promising free or heavily discounted in-game items. Clicking on such links can result in things like credit card fraud and viruses. Credit card access. Giving a child unrestricted access to a credit card is allowing the risk of potential financial problems. Allowing a child to have unregulated access to digital money allows them to give it to malicious sites or just spend as much money as they want. Deceptive deals. While not legally fraud, sneaky marketing tactics use your children's vulnerability and impressionability to make impulse purchases, promising them once-in-a-lifetime deals or exclusive opportunities. These tactics can make our children spend their money on items they might not need or even truly want. How to protect your children from threats like these. Education. By far, the most successful way to protect your kids is to educate them. A lot of parents don't realize that their kids don't know as much as them. As parents, you must recognize that your children lack the life experiences that adults have. You should explain it to them in a way that makes them understand and teaches them why not to do it, rather than just saying no. This approach doesn't just educate them, it fosters independent and responsible digital behavior. Parental controls. Parental controls is a highly useful tool that lets you control your child's internet access. There are numerous apps and inbuilt features that grant you the ability to monitor and guide your children's online activities. From tracking visited websites to setting screen time limits and blocking unsafe content, parental controls can provide a digital and less safety for your child. Antivirus software. Installing a reputable antivirus software is an excellent way to protect your child. Antiviruses scan your computer for malicious content, and as an added bonus, can sometimes warn your child about unsafe sites. Antivirus software acts as a final line defense and is a well-rounded approach to stopping threats. Limited credit card usage. A balanced approach to financial freedom and security can be achieved by giving your child a limited credit card. This approach allows your child to have financial freedom and learn key management skills whilst keeping them safe and preventing excessive money spending. Doing this will help them much later in life when they have to manage their own money. How to approach a kid if they're being unsafe online. When dealing with your child's mistakes, keep in mind the following. Encourage transparency. Create an environment where your child feels safe to confide in you without fear or harsh judgment. Make sure they feel safe talking to you. Build a bond with your child so that they feel safe talking and confiding in you. Tell them what you are doing. Clearly telling them your intentions and why you are talking to them can help them be more open-minded and understanding. Value their perspective. Allowing your child to say their opinions allows them to have a more open conversation and own their mistakes. Try to turn it into a learning opportunity. Turning mistakes into a learning opportunity helps your child learn from their mistakes and grow as a better person. Punishment should be left for things that were reckless or on purpose, not genuine mistakes. I hope you've all learned something from this speech, and that you can now go home and teach your child something about being safe online. Remember, the digital world is an ever-changing landscape where normal laws and regulations don't apply. So at the end of the day, the only one who can keep a child safe is themselves. I thank you for attending the speech, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of the evening. You may now ask questions.
Anyone got a quick question? What about grandparents?
Have you been scammed?
Big pardon?
Have you been scammed?
No, not out of any real money. I don't think so.
All right, thanks.
Yes, Daniel. What do you, as a young person, understand as normal standards of regulation to say that they don't apply anymore? Do you have an understanding of what they should be or used to be?
For sites that are like legal, there are still regulations, but there are a lot of sites that don't follow those. And so, you know, your child can just enter their information or whatever, and they just don't follow the laws and take your money or something.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Daniel, you're pretty smart. What are the other kids like? No, let's be quick. Are they careless? Are they dumb? Or they don't care? Or what?
Especially with younger kids, sometimes they will make bad decisions. Like they think, oh, it's fine, or, you know, it's my mom's credit card, you know, why does it matter?
Daniel, we need your help as parents. Whenever I ask my son and daughter any help at all, they roll their eyes, they say, oh, Dad. How should grandparents and parents approach their child to get some help from them? Sorry, it's not a fair question.
In what sense? In like...
Well, so that they don't roll their eyes and treat you like a complete idiot. Because they do think we're complete idiots. You don't think I'm an idiot.
I'm pretty sure that's a teenager's default response. I'm not sure if there's a way to stop that.
Well done, Daniel. Credits to the school. Okay, our next speaker is Colin Neve. Colin has served as a banking ombudsman, chief financial services ombudsman, and Commonwealth Government ombudsman. He's said 3 times, it's hard work. And before he retired for the 3rd time, as fairness advisor to the CEO and board of the ANZ Bank. He now practices as a solicitor and notary public. So welcome, Colin. I don't know how many people know you in the audience, but all these guys around here seem to know you.
Yes, they could. Actually, it's an awful word, ombudsman. The first time I had to say it, I had great difficulty getting it off my chest, let us say, but after a while you get used to it. I want to tell you a personal story first about how I was scammed myself. I want to talk about a couple of principles, and I want to give some advice on avoiding mistakes in relation to banks. And finally, I want to talk briefly about investment type issues. Let me tell you first the story that is around the time that I was scammed. I was sitting in the airport lounge in Brisbane, and we had been up there for a few days going to a football match. We go and watch Melbourne play wherever they might be playing. And it's a thoroughly enjoyable way. I can recommend this for a holiday. Have a couple of days there, go to a football match, all the good. So I'm sitting in the lounge, and I've hired an Avis car, and I've driven through the tunnel to the Brisbane airport and therefore clocked up a fee, and I said to myself, I wonder how I paid that fee. And almost within a few seconds on my phone, there came a message from Linked. And Linked said, you owe us $5.38. And it's all sort of added up. And so then I clicked on the thing on the phone, and I got in, I put my credit card in there, and I thought I'd paid my $5.38, which I thought I was going to be up for anyway for the rent car. And then next day, I actually, which I regularly do, and this is well worth doing, if you've got internet banking, look at your credit card account every couple of days just to make sure that everything there looks right to you. And I looked on that and I saw I had bought $338 worth of electrical goods in Dubai. And so I then rang up the bank, and luckily I got onto the bank straight away, and I told them what had happened, and the bank immediately cancelled the credit card. So it was all okay, and I didn't have to pay the $338 because I'd done everything I possibly could to tell them in time, because it was still a pending transaction. So this sort of thing can happen to all of us, and it's probably people who put their hands up before, including me. I put my hand up there too, have been scammed, and this is a pretty familiar story. So, you know, the first message, which we all know, and this is going to be repeated lots of times, you never click on a link in a text or in an email where it looks suspicious. At the moment, I'm getting lots and lots of emails from McAfee, allegedly, giving me virus software. I think everybody's getting them at the moment, but of course you never ever click on those. And another really important message that I learnt as finance ombudsman in particular is that people give out their personal information left, right and centre. That is their home address, sometimes their passport number, sometimes their licence number, and a whole lot of things, which then leads to identity theft. And so you never hand out any of this stuff, and there's a big case at the moment about Latitude about that, where they kept a whole lot of their personal information, which was then picked up and transmitted onto whatever the dark web is, and has caused people an awful lot of trouble. So giving away personal information, any personal information to anyone, unless you're absolutely confident that you should be doing that and it's a trustworthy organisation, is another general tip. And it's a bit of a fireside chat. I don't have any overheads, and I really like fireside chats. And the other message that I wanted to give you about avoiding mistakes, which is not so much a scam problem, but when you're paying an account, giving the BSB an account number of someone that you are paying, you need to be really careful that you put the right numbers in there, because at the moment, and I'm not sure my friend from Bendigo could well correct me, up till about 6 months ago, there was no real check of the name of the account to which you're sending the money. There is going to be at some point in time in the banks, but I'm not sure it's quite there yet. But you need to be very, very careful in those numbers, and most banks warn you as you're paying anyone using BSB and an account number. Finally, I wanted to say in relation to investment matters, our young friend or Jeff or somebody mentioned the embarrassment which sometimes that people feel when they've made a mistake in an investment, and they're picked on an investment which hasn't been a particularly good one, and they're worried, particularly this group here, about telling their kids that they've lost an awful lot of money. A number of years ago there was a sort of a scam going on where units on the Gold Coast or somewhere up north were advertised. There was in on the scam, there was a bank, actually by mistake I think, to be fair to the bank, but a financial planner and an estate agent and a few other people. You were offered a free flight to go up to the Gold Coast. You purchased a unit for about $100,000, usually more than it was actually worth. And so I actually conciliated dozens of cases for the bank concerned, which I won't name today because they were very fair, but we did a whole lot of conciliated settlements in the Financial Ombudsman office because the bank was involved, which was a pretty sophisticated investment sort of scam, and it's something to watch out for. And our young friend there has already mentioned my favourite phrase, which is, if it's too good to be true, it isn't. And be very, very doubtful about investment scams. So the other point, as I said, this is a bit all over the place, this presentation, but that's the fireside chat. And I quite like doing fireside chats, not being too formal. It's a good idea to check your own credit report. There's all sorts of credit report agencies around, and it's free, and you can go in and have a look at a credit report, and you might find someone's used your name and borrowed some money in your name somehow or other. So having a look at using the credit report agencies to get a free report on yourself is not a bad idea.
How do you find
every now and
find
again.
that?
Well, there's, if you Google credit report agencies, for example, you'll find them all, and you can go to one of them, and you can for nothing get your own credit report, so you know maybe someone's been inquiring about you, for example, about whether or not you're a credit risk, which then gives you a bit of an in on the fact that someone might have stolen your identity and might be trying to get your corporate information. Sorry?
Government organisations.
Oh, no, they're private organisations, and perhaps I might give, I don't know, you'd probably use that. I might talk to Jeff about giving that number. And also, if you have a complaint about a financial services provider which hasn't dealt with your credit card problem, for example, then you can always ring the Australian Financial Complaints Authority as well, which I've got the phone number here, but you're not going to write that down there. But the Australian Financial Complaints Authority, which is my old organisation, the Financial Ombudsman Service, government's changed names.
You've got the phone number there because we're recording this call.
Yeah, and the phone number is 1800 931 678, 1800 931 678. And if you are not getting a proper response to any query that you've got about something from your bank, well then you can ring up after and get some advice too. And finally, if you have difficulty getting through to the bank, and it's not unusual, you're hanging on the phone for ages, make a little diary note about the time you first tried to make contact with the bank. If you have a worry about a credit card transaction which you're not happy about, then that can be used by AFCA if they're investigating the dispute to say, well, these people did everything they could to tell the bank something was wrong with their credit card, and they tried to ring, and they tried to ring at 901 in particular. That's very useful as well. So there we are. That's a quick little expose from the former banking ombudsman, and I hope it's useful to you, and happy to answer questions during the question and answer session later. There's a panel session later. Don't worry, I'll answer the question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just a question, can you hear at the back? Is it okay?
Yep.
Okay, so I was wondering if that was loud enough. Thank you, Colin, that was terrific. We've got, Colin mentioned investment scams. We've got a short video, which I hope will work. The secret of investment scams is really how they suck you in. You get a cold call, absolutely wonderful opportunity, unbelievable opportunity. It's urgent, you've got to do something now. There's beautiful, classy websites that look like they're natural and real, and they've got online consultants who will talk to you, and they sort of know what they do, i.e. they know how to scam you. Now this might be a bit loud if it works, so here we go.
You should turn the lights off the video with a stick.
Sounds.
High yield, low risk. It's what many of us dream for in our investments. To try and realise that dream, many people search the internet for investments with good returns. But among the hundreds of tempting opportunities served up, the results can be a really mixed bag. And unfortunately, a staggering number of those seemingly legitimate opportunities are scams. Welcome to Scam Squad. Investment scams are the #1 cause of scam loss in the country right now, representing half of the money lost to scams by Australians. While many scammers will text or call you, some set a trap and wait for you to come to them. In the case of investment scams, the trap is a fake website, boosted to appear at the top of your search results. These investment sites may direct you to a professional-looking page offering comparison tools and sign-up forms, where you enter your contact details and wait for a call. And boy, are they helpful. A trained and patient salesperson or advisor may impersonate real investment banks or other organisations, making it difficult to discern their legitimacy. Here's a few tips that might help you avoid falling for these traps. Don't cooperate with advisors wanting to see your device's screen to help guide you through the process. Remote access software like AnyDesk or TeamViewer are used in a whole range of scams. Beware of platforms requiring payments via bitcoins or other digital currency. Legitimate investment platforms will always let you fund the account with Australian dollars, even if they're offshore. If it's a company that you do recognise, verify the offer directly through the company's website or by calling them using a publicly sourced number rather than using the contact information provided to you. Never invest more money in order to unlock or save your existing investments. This is a common ploy used in investment scams. Don't trust platforms just because you appear to be making money or because you can withdraw small values. Remember, numbers on a screen can be manipulated and small values can be made available to gain your trust. And finally, for large investments, always seek independent financial advice with a professional not connected to the investment opportunity. While some investment opportunities may be attractive, it's important to know who you are dealing with. Taking just a minute can save you a whole world of trouble.
CyberX? Yeah. Okay, we have two speakers from CyberX. It's an unusual terminology, I suppose. It's not something we come across every day, CyberX. So CyberX is Australia's leading cyber security provider based in Melbourne with a presence across Australia, New Zealand, United States and the United Kingdom, so pretty worldwide. They work with a range of private firms as well as federal, state, territory and local governments to keep Australians safe from cyber security threats. So we've got Grant Walsh and Dr. William Stoltz. Grant is the Director of CyberX Strategy and Consulting Practice with an over a decade of previous experience working telecommunications and national security policy in the federal government, including a senior advisor to the Minister for Communications. That'd be a pretty thrilling task, I reckon. Dr. William Stoltz is Senior Manager also in CyberX Strategy and Consulting Practice with previous experience servicing across Australia's defence, intelligence and law enforcement communities. He's also a lecturer and expert associate at the ANU National Security College. So boy, have these guys got some experience. Do you guys live locally?
South Yarra.
Oh, down up the road. No, I'm talking about Barbarossa. Yeah, so welcome gentlemen, we look forward to your presentation.
Right. So Daniel gave us a good rundown before of some of the threat actors, so I'll power through this, but I wanted to give you a sense of the wider environment that is generating these scams and cybersecurity threats. So the cyber domain is essentially being supercharged by new technologies, which is making it an arena for state competition, and that includes cyber warfare, for espionage and for extortion. Now, tonight we're really talking about the extortion end of the spectrum, but it's all kind of part of the same mix of malicious activity that's happening online. So cyber attacks and digital disinformation campaigns are now part of how states compete with each other. It's also a massive area for huge profits by organised criminal groups. And the trouble is that these two groups of state and non-state actors are actually converging with one another. So there are kind of three broad categories of malicious actors, as I mentioned: states, organised criminals and insiders. And the reality is they all have slightly different motivations. States are obviously competing with each other and trying to gain intelligence and or sabotaging and disrupting other states. Organised criminals are seeking to gain profit either through extortion or theft of data or to compromise a system. Then you have insiders, and that can include malicious insiders within an organisation, but also unwitting actors. So someone who, as we talked about before, accidentally clicks on a malicious link within a company or something like that. We talked about the impact of cybercrime before. Jeff was mentioning the cost of scams alone being $3.1 billion. But we've also got cybercrime to individuals being about $3.5 billion, and the overall estimate of the impact of cybercrime to Australia writ large is a bit unknown, but it's hovering probably around $30 billion, which is a pretty, that's an enormous number. And based on what we understand, there are about 76,000 incidents a year, but that is only what is reported. And the reality is a lot of cybercrime is underreported, unfortunately. There's some statistics up there as well, just to give you a sense of some of the relative cost. I think it's interesting to note that the financial losses for a lot of cyber incidents are actually not that high, and that's a deliberate technique by organised criminal groups, is that they actually want to make the price something palatable for people to pay, and a lot of the time they will do intelligence collection on organisations to get a sense of what organisations might be willing to pay if they are extorted. So what are the policy responses that governments are currently undertaking at the moment? We have a real emphasis on encouraging businesses to report cybercrime. That includes creating mandatory obligations to do so. We also have new measures being explored to force organisations to block malicious traffic, detect it and block it, which comes at a cost to business, of course, but this is about pushing on to organisations to provide for the security of their own customers. And we also have the exploration of new powers for law enforcement agencies and intelligence agencies to actually actively disrupt the threat actors themselves, which we call digital disruption. And that involves sometimes actually deploying our own malware on those organisations. So the Minister for Home Affairs recently referred to that as hacking the hackers. So moving from a defensive approach to actually becoming offensive as well. So I'll hand over to Grant now to discuss what you can do to respond to these.
Thank you, Lily. Good evening, my name's Grant. Thank you very much for having... thank you very much for having us. Should I say, like, the way that you opened us off is exactly where we need to be, is that don't be sitting ducks, and knowledge is power, and even that knowledge exchange from young Daniel is super valuable. So I'm so excited to be here this evening. If you take nothing away from me this evening or will, there's just three things, and you're going to hear a lot of different bits and pieces come through, and I hope you pick up more bits of advice, and I'll send some safe links across that will direct you to get more info. But if you take nothing else away, I want you to remember three things out of this evening. And the first is make yourself a harder target. And what does that look like? And we've touched on a lot of good points already. It is think about the information you're sharing. Don't be paranoid, don't be cloistered, live your life, but you need to be conscious about making yourself a harder target and understand the information you're putting out there. And the very simple, I've yet to find a better word, but cyber hygiene of not reusing passwords. That all those things that we get told, but we're all guilty of not doing them, it is like consistently demonstrating good hygiene makes you a harder target. So that's my first point. My second point, stop and verify or ignore. We like to think of ourselves as larrikin, Ned Kelly descendants who don't follow the rules and we're a bit, off the cuff. We are rule followers. We all do it, we're rule followers. We line up, we pay our taxes, we follow government. What is good is that we have a good trust in our institutions and our governments. That's exploited by scammers, because when you get the linked toll message, I should pay that because I do follow the rules. What I want you to understand is when something comes in on your mobile phone that you have not initiated, you're in charge, and you can ignore it. No institution, no bank, no government agency can take an action, don't quote me on that, will take an action via a text message and a text message alone. So stop, and you are in control and you can ignore it, would be my second point. And the third point, and it's been touched on already, is ask for help. You can be angry, you can be upset, and it is upsetting, but don't be embarrassed. These things move at a velocity that is hard for a single person to get their hands around, and you will need someone you trust, whether that be kids, someone from church, someone from neighbourhood watch, someone that you trust to help you, because there's going to be lots to do to respond, and you need to help to prioritise what that is, otherwise you could be putting your effort in the wrong direction. So if you take nothing else away, just those 3 points. In cyber incidents, major cyber incidents that we respond to, and the Australian Signals Directorate, other cybersecurity firms, we have an incident response framework or process. It's multifaceted and it's different phases. What I want to unpack for you tonight is a subset of that, about thinking about your own scam response process that starts from protect and moves through to detect, recover, and then learn. So I want to unpack a bit of our own kind of shorter process. I will need to read some of this. So on the left, we've got prepare and detect, and so we've touched on, I want you to make yourself a harder target and know what to look for. We're going to move across into, if something has happened, how do we contain, and we use the word eradicate or evict in an incident, which means how do I stop the bleeding, but then stop that actor being able to keep, we call it persistence in cybersecurity, keep a foothold in a network, but in your case, in your accounts, in your life. And then finally, how do we recover and learn from our experience and bring that back, like a good consultant, I've got a flowchart, and then rethink about that preparation again, so we're always learning. The first part, and we've touched on a lot of good points already, is minimise the information that you put out online, and stay in control of not only what you give, but who can see it. And I'll show a screen in a second about what I mean there. And if you're interacting with a platform, Facebook, LinkedIn, and you have the option to set permissions, start them as low as they'll go. You can always increase them, but start the permissions of what people can see about you as low as they will go, and then move up from there and be conscious rather than say, permit everything. See my email, see my surname, see my mobile phone number. Start low and move up. We talked about not using passwords, and wherever possible, and you'll see this acronym a lot, MFA or two-factor authentication. I'll unpack what that means in a second as well, but any online account, whether it's your Gmail, whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's Facebook, that has two-factor authentication and the option to turn it on, turn it on. And we'll unpack two of those things. See in here, lots of moving parts, right? This is Facebook on the left, LinkedIn on the right, and what you've got here is right deep in the settings. And you've got to go looking for this, but if you have a look, okay, use two-factor, turn it on. Get alerts about unrecognised logins. To the really good point that was made earlier, keep an eye on your credit card statements or on your online banking. If you've got the option to turn on alerts about an unauthorised activity on your account, I probably want that on. On LinkedIn, maybe I don't want the general public, if you look at the top red box, to see my email address. So, unfortunately, these things are buried right down in the settings. There's a link at the end, and I'll share it, which is a guide to kind of go through and where do I look for these things and how do I dial them back, because unsurprisingly, a lot of times the platforms will say, I want them up to 11 from the start. A password manager. It's not an ad, I don't get paid by LastPass. A password manager is something to think about, and again I'll put a link about some info, how we can avoid, it introduces that discipline about not reusing passwords and making them really tricky, but they're hard obviously to remember. What a password manager does is manage all your passwords in a single safe vault and then deploys them only when you want. LastPass is a paid one. Google offers a free one that's actually pretty good and had a lot of improvements in recent times. Just something to think about that hygiene of passwords. This is that MFA, multi-factor or two-factor. So everybody's probably seen this on the left. I get a one-time code from my bank or from MyGov. People might have seen these tokens. If you're working from home, these are what they used to look like to log in. Or nowadays, there's actually an app on your phone that gives you the same number. But basically, what multi-factor is at least 2, but ideally 3 steps before someone can log into your account. Something you know, a PIN code, something you have, your phone, or that two-factor. Nowadays, something about you, which is a whole other discussion, biometrics, face scans. Something else, and I'll put a link about how to use two-factor, because if you can turn that on for your account, turn it on. I think we all, but then how do we detect? How do we know what to look for? I think we're all pretty savvy now at spotting these things, so I won't labour on this. You all would have seen these types of scams. This one's COVID, MyGov, Linked is a classic. What I want to give you is just think about the methodology of a scammer. I want to start from a position of authority or trust, so I'll emulate a MyGov, an ATO, or an authority. I want to give you something that's personal about you, or at least personable enough, like I was driving through a toll road, and so that makes sense as to why I got it, because remember, if you didn't initiate it, ignore it. So they want to get you to the next part, which is a call to action, or a sense of consequence or sanctions, and then rely on that rule-following concept I talked about. And that is the very deliberate, targeted way that they're pulling you through from, I didn't start this, to now I'm actively engaging with it. So more than just look for the dodgy links, because we're good at that, think about the context of how, because these things happen with, as Will said, with an intent. And these are more examples, and the reason I put these up is to show you that increasingly, unfortunately, what we're seeing is the ability of a caller to jump in and what we call overstand. So you'll see ANZ, Ozpost, they're actually able to drop into your phone will group up messages that look alike, and you trust that your phone groups them together. They're relying on that now. So unfortunately, that means another level of diligence. And to that last point, the why. Why am I getting this, and how is this working? If something happens, contain and eradicate. It's easy to be pulled in multiple directions about what do I do first. First thing, even before you report it later, put your hand up, ask for help, because we're going to need help in getting our hands around this. There are three key things that, of all the things, people's default goes, I need to go to my driver's license, my passport, they are long burn. And to Will's point, most scams are small chunks of money rapidly they can get. The three things that I want you to focus on if something happens are your primary email account, that's your Gmail, if it's your webmail, it's your Outlook for work. Second is your phone. And then the third is your financial institution. The reason for that, of all three things, they interlock. Your email account is how you reset your online banking password when we inevitably all forget it. Your phone is by proxy an ID device that gets that two-factor code. If a scammer can get your phone number, they can re-establish a presence on your account. And then your bank is at the fulcrum of both of those. So focus on those three things first. And get somebody you trust to help you get around that. That means resecure, reset the password on your primary email, contact your financial institution, put a freeze on the account, ask them for assistance, contact your telecommunications provider and say, I think my phone's been ported, someone's trying to steal my number and take my phone number so they get the two-factor. Of three things, they would be the three to focus on. From then, I want you to get a piece of paper, or a piece of wrapping paper, a piece of butcher's paper, or write on the fridge, because cybersecurity incidents are fought with whiteboard markers. When we're in an incident, the first thing I do is big whiteboard, how are we mapping this out? And what I want you to do is very simple. This is a very boring table that my young consultants would get angry at me for, but I want you to start on my left and think about what information do I think has gone out? Write it down. What online accounts do I have? Write them down. What do those accounts link to? And then what do they know about me? It's only when you start to get your head around what that looks like, what the interconnections are, that we can start to actually wrap around this in its entirety and then have a plan to move through. It's then that we get to that recover and learn phase. So it's then that we can actually think about, do I need to reissue my driver's license, reissue my passport, these next order consequences? Because if you remember back at the start, we contacted our financial institution, so that's locked down. Now I can think about, are they going to go to my financial institution, open another credit card? Well, no, I've dealt with that. Those things are slower burn. This is the long-term recovery. And then thinking about how do I learn from this and avoid it happening again. And a massive takeaway from this is that last little under-considered dot point there, which is really consider your mental health and your family's mental health. I cannot stress to you, and to that point that was made earlier, it is an incredibly upsetting thing to happen, and the sense of guilt and embarrassment that you feel, that is not justified, because it's not your fault, but know that you need to address that and don't do it alone, because I've seen people, entire families, very badly upset by what young Daniel very eloquently articulated was an honest mistake. So really I want you to think about your mental health and your family's mental health and well-being. That was a whirlwind run through our own little scams response cycle. I hope that was of use. Here are some links I'll send through that kind of unpack all the things I've talked about there. And in this case, please click the link, which the cybersecurity professional just told you to do, because these are great resources to navigate some of the more tricky parts that we can't unpack tonight. But thank you so much for your time. I'm happy to chat later as well.
Well, lovely. Lisa, what's it now? Yes, yeah, we've just swapped the rest of Lisa. Detective Senior Sergeant.
Acting.
Acting. Very important.
Depends who you are.
The Bayside Police, based up in Abbotsford.
No, I'm at Moorabbin
Okay.
Police Complex.
Right, so welcome. So do you want to have a free mic?
Oh, yeah,
Or stand here?
No, I'll stand here.
There you go. So Lisa doesn't have a prepared presentation, so we've asked her to give us some case studies and frighten the hell out of us.
We'll see. I'll start with a bit of an introduction, and often, you know, as with tonight, we're very reactive in our police response to many things, and sometimes we can be places that we plan to be, and other times we can't. So I apologise that I'm late, but it's the nature of policing and the work that we do that sometimes we just don't know what we're going to be doing or where we're going to be. So I've been employed with Victoria Police for 17 years. Okay, thanks. Yeah, for 17 years now. I've gone up through the ranks, so I'm now a Detective Acting Senior Sergeant at Moorabbin CIU. We cover quite a large area, including the areas of Bayside and Kingston. We have 70 members based out of our office, so I manage the detectives, or the crime investigation unit. So we have 3 senior sergeants, 13 detective sergeants and 54 detectives. That's when they're all at work, and they're not all at work for many reasons, but I might talk about that a bit later. We're here to talk about cybercrime, and it's certainly something and scams, it's on the increase. I think we all are very well aware of how much it's increased, and I'm not sure if we've already covered off on some of those basic statistics, but to give you a general idea, from 2020 to 2021, there were 67,500 cybercrime reports submitted in Australia. That's a 13% increase on the year before, and amounted to $33 million in self-reported losses. It's a huge amount of money. The following year, from 2021 to 2022, there was an increase of 6,000 cybercrime reports. Now, these reports can be something from, I bought something on Facebook and it never arrived, to I've just spent my life savings because I thought I'd entered into a romantic relationship and they advised me about investing money overseas or in cryptocurrency or many other things, and they've lost their life savings. So it can be as simple as a couple $100, or it can be, you know, $200,000, $300,000 at a time people are losing. So I did these stats a couple of months ago, but between the 24th of July 2022 to the 14th of April this year, Victoria alone had nearly 10,000 cybercrime reports. Those reports are disseminated across local CIUs like mine in Moorabbin, and in that same time period we received nearly 600 of those reports. Now, I'd like to say that we have looked and investigated each of those. The simple fact is that we haven't, because while that number increased, we got no further police resources to help us investigate those crimes. We do our best, but sometimes, you know, it's not as quick as we'd like it to be. And to put in context what I was saying about, of 70 police members in my unit, I have 13 that are not currently at work because of work cover, other work-related stresses, or the positions are vacant for various reasons. And that's coupled with 800 or more vacancies in Victoria Police at the moment, and probably another 1,000 on top of that that are not at work because of work cover or work-related stress issues. So that's not your fault, but why I say it is because, you know, we have had an increase in reports and it affects our response, and all the time we have to prioritise those reports. So, you know, a few $100 on Facebook because I didn't get the camera that I ordered, we have to put that in context with, you know, very briefly, a situation that happened tonight that caused my delays. You know, a pedestrian was hit by a car and has life-threatening injuries. Now, that's where my detectives need to be, and I always want them to be there doing that work. And something I'll pass on, a message that I learnt recently at a international gangs crime conference, and they talked about when resources are low, we have to make a decision about what is the most intolerable thing and focus on the most intolerable thing. And not that any of this is tolerable, but when we have to, you know, decide where our resources go, it's when people are physically harmed, you know, or are committing robberies, you know, invading people's houses at night. Those are the things that they will always, you know, trump over a cybercrime. So the next thing I want to talk about is why it is that we think that Australia is a target, and we may have covered off some of that, but we're a wealthy country, and most of us, probably I'd say close to every household, has access to the internet. That means that we are all, easily victimised through those contacts and connections to phones. You compare that to a country where not every person has a phone and not every household has the internet. It's harder for them to be a target of online scams or phone scams or cybercrime. So that's one of the reasons. Also, probably the more recent increases are due to COVID. We all had to rely more on the internet, buying things online and doing things online. And we had to, in order to live, trust those systems. And that has led to us probably being a little bit lax in providing our personal information online to other people. And also, these criminals are very smart, and they follow that process of manipulating you into being trusting, and that's always, every person's fallback is to trust until we are given absolute direct information to stop us believing that person. So we're all, naturally as humans bound to want to trust other people, and we do that, online and over the phone, and we should be far more cautious about how trusting we are. I won't go too much on the prevention, but I absolutely agree with absolutely stop and ask someone that you know in person for advice before you respond to anything that you might go, I'm not sure if that's quite right. Don't trust. Ask someone you know in person first. And any delay is a good delay. It will give you more time to identify whether you might be being scammed, and by talking to someone else, again, more time to go, maybe this isn't quite right. And if a legitimate service like the government or the tax office or the tolls, if you ignore them once and they're legitimate, they will contact you again. A scammer won't contact you again. You might get another random text message, later, but if you haven't responded to the tax office because they sent you a text, be sure that they will try and ring you or come to your workplace eventually if you haven't paid your tax bill, or come to your house. They're not going to take action, until they've tried every avenue. So, just not doing something straight away is not going to be a problem if it is a legitimate business or company or agency. So we have, there's a lot of common scams that I was going to mention. There are too many types of scams really to mention, and we'll ask some questions from the audience shortly, and we can talk through what the police action might be, or other things to do with if you've got specific questions. But some that are very common: email invoice intercepts. A lot of businesses end up suffering quite huge amounts of money losses here, because they're so used to communicating by email and saying, all right, here's your invoice for $20,000. Oh, we've got a new account, pay this one. And my mum actually works in a business where they haven't had that situation, but their process is, if an account has been changed, that they must have verbal confirmation from the other business first, which is a highly recommended practice, because and I'm no expert on cybercrime and how the inner workings, but apparently, a hacker can break in, they can get into your email, and they can divert emails that are getting sent to you with certain tags in the email, like invoice, payment, those sorts of words. They can ask that in your settings that email be sent to them first. They can then, digitally change the document or the wording to put their own account number in, and then send that to you with it disguising their email. Because you might see in an email, it has the name of the person first, and then it has in brackets or commas their email address. So often people don't actually check what the email address says. So I could say Lisa Watson, Victoria Police, and it comes from lisa.wx5912@yahoo.com in the brackets. And all you're seeing is Lisa Watson from the police. Oh, I trust them. But it's not the actual email account that it's come from. So that's one that we're seeing a lot, and can often result in quite high financial losses, because often invoices between businesses can be quite high value. So that's certainly a common one that we're seeing. Obviously, online shopping scams, Puppy scams were very, very big during COVID, because what did everyone want to buy during COVID? A puppy? Yeah, I want a puppy. So, you know, people were advertising a puppy online, and, you know, we all just wanted a bit of comfort during COVID, so they'd go, oh yeah, it's coming from Queensland, and they'd give you the date and pay this account, so they pay the account, and then if they were lucky enough to get you on the hook for that, then they'd go, oh right, but to transport, you know, you can give this, you know, your brand new puppy some more quality, high quality transport in an air conditioned, you know, freight. So if you pay a little bit more, then we'll arrange that for you. You might get there quicker too. So you go, all right, pay you some more money, and then the date passes and you don't get your puppy. And what we found with that scam, I investigated one that we were able to link over 200 different cybercrime reports to the same offender without knowing who the offender was. So we linked them all because what would happen is, so say you wanted to buy a puppy, you would contact that person. They go, right, to verify everything and arrange the shipping, we need your passport, we need your driver's license, and we need your Medicare. And you really wanted that puppy, so you gave them all that information because we trusted people in COVID and we wanted the puppy. So we gave them all that information. And then lo and behold, you don't get your puppy. And then the next report comes to the police, and you are now the seller of the next puppy, because they have created a phone number in your account, they've created a bank account in your name using your passport information, because you can create online bank accounts, and yeah, now you are the seller of the next puppy, and the victim that bought it from you now thinks you're their offender. And then we link that to, and it goes on and on and on and on. And also what we see with not just the puppy scams, but other types of scams, is that within minutes that money is transferred out of the account that you paid into another account, and we just lose the trail. And I can talk more about how long it takes us to investigate and get information from the banks, who we all trust with our money, that they don't like to give us information easily. So we could be following this trail for months or years. Usually we just run out of, the resource time to be able to do it. Eventually it ends up, now what we're seeing more is it ends up in cryptocurrency, or it goes to an offshore account, and then we have no jurisdiction on investigating foreign banks. What some more types of scams? False websites. There's a lot of false websites. Phil was telling me don't talk too much about cryptocurrency, but crypto's one. But same with the puppy scams. They create a website that looks very legitimate. Apparently it's not hard to do create a website. I don't know how to do it, but other people do. And you click on it, has all the good stuff, that the normal things, and people just click on the links in those accounts. And one thing we're seeing, we want to find a phone number for a bank. How do you find it now? You Google it, find it on the internet, and we have had examples, not too many, but we have had examples where they're creating fake websites in legitimate, business or agency names, and people are calling those numbers to a call centre that's based offshore or somewhere that's certainly not who you think it is, and then getting scammed that way. So it's very, they're really good. All I can say is they're really good at their job, and they're very well organised. So it's incumbent on us as individuals to try and be as careful as we can. And what I'd say, instead of trying to find a phone number or a contact information from a website, if you have a physical document, a bill or something, and you could find a phone number that way, that's what I would trust more than, sometimes, we have to Google, but certainly a hard copy document is better and more trusting, with contact details than other websites. Okay. Phil had some questions from the bank. I don't know if you've got a bank representative.
We certainly have. He's on next.
Oh, right. I'll leave.
Sure about that now.
Oh, leave those ones to them. All right, we'll leave that. But all I want to say about cryptocurrency is be very wary of it. I don't understand it. I've been employed with Victoria Police for 17 years, and I still have not got training in how to investigate cryptocurrency. My office will get that training on the 30th of October this year, but our ability to investigate it is pretty much zero, and there are many reasons that I won't go into it now, but we just can't. It's too hard. Cryptocurrency is not like a bank. There's no one for us to ring and say, who holds this cryptocurrency, I'll say account, it's not called account, but you know, that's how we understand it. Who holds that account? There's no one that we have to call and say, who has that account where my money went to? We can't do it. There's no way to do it. So if you're going to invest in cryptocurrency, unless you're an expert and you really know what you're doing, don't do it. I can probably wind up there, really. Yeah, I think so.
Thanks, Lisa. That was brilliant.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Lisa, and your busy work schedule. That was terrific. Thank you. A lot of food for thought there, wasn't it? Okay, Jeffrey, what are we up to? We're up to Matthew. Okay, I'd like to introduce Matthew Gelf, who's the branch manager of Bendigo Bank. I bank with Bendigo Bank, and I think Ken does, and probably a lot of people in the audience do. So Matthew's a very important person for us. He's always available, and it's a great community bank. So I'm not sure what you're going to talk about, Matthew, but best of luck.
Scams.
Thanks, John. Being the fifth speaker on the same subject, I've listened to my speech go over about 3 or 4 times, so we'll try and do an abridged version and try not to cover too many areas that have been covered, but some of them are certainly key. Some of the questions that were thrown around to the group, into Neighbourhood Watch before, I'll sort of touch on. So we talked a little bit about porting, so that's been raised today. So to give you an idea of what porting is that I've got my telephone account with Telstra. I'm happy everything's going along well. Phil the scammer contacts Optus, he's got my details, and he arranges to have the phone transferred across from my name, Telstra, across to Optus. The big thing with this is that they need more than just your phone number. So just your phone number is not going to allow porting. Porting is happening less, but it's still happening. They need names, addresses, dates of birth. Everybody has presented so far as to how easy that is to get. It's off your social media, it's off information that you give to people for whatever reasons. So you need to keep your personal information private. The reality is, the more information they can gather, the easier it is to contact the telephone companies, to ring the banks or anybody. So your personal information is extremely important and you need to keep it secure. The telephone companies have got a lot better. So if you're concerned about this, contact your telephone company. So in most cases you can set up a password with that telephone company. So if someone attempts to do a porting, in this case, Telstra will contact me, they'll send me a message, I'm going to ask for a message possibly, where the message comes to me, are you requesting your phone to be ported? So talk to your communications company. If it becomes an issue with the bank down the track, what it's about is trying to stop these people at the start and being aware of what they do. So contact your telephone company, see if you can set a PIN number before any changes can be made, see if you can arrange for a password or a message to you if it's going to be the case. What doesn't obviously help is data breaches, and Latitude was touched on, Medibank Optus. Again, that information's provided, and it certainly makes it harder to do. So that's step one from the telephone. From the bank side of things, and as touched on, is biometrics. So I can't talk about all the banks, I don't know what exact processes, but you go and talk to your bank, sit down and talk to them and get an understanding. So my app now, with my internet banking, I need facial recognition to be able to get into my app. So if my phone is ported, they haven't got my face to be able to get into my internet banking. So it can be a thumbprint, it can be a face. Bendigo also just moving people across to at the moment. So I register one device with Bendigo Bank. So it could be my iPhone, it could be my iPad. Mine's my phone. If I use a computer at work, I use my iPad at home. As soon as I log into the Bendigo Bank app, I get a message on my mobile phone saying that I'm logging in. Is that me logging into my internet banking from a device that isn't my one registered device? So if somebody overseas has got my information, they're trying to log in, whatever the case may be, I get a message on my mobile phone and I have to click on my phone and say, yes, it's me, and straight away the screen comes up about enabling me to do my next transaction. So this is about preparation. Once they get too far, yes, the funds are gone. So it's preparation, it's the phone company, it's the bank, and understanding what you can put in place. Passwords have been touched on, but I'll be honest, the amount of people that come in to us for help to set things up on their phone, their internet banking, whatever, and their password is 4 zeros. It absolutely amazes us. So some people don't have their phones locked at all. So if you drop your phone, you're in trouble. There's programs where they will run through the top 50 or 100 passwords so that they will try to use those. So make sure the password's not someone can guess. And as I said, people have their date of birth as their login codes. If they've got that far and they've ported your phone or they've got your internet banking and they've got your date of birth, one of the first half a dozen things you're going to try is your date of birth. So put some more time and thought into your passwords. Don't have the same password on your phone as your internet banking. We all have enormous trouble, and I wouldn't know how many passwords I have. It is just ridiculous. It would all be in exactly the same situation. But your password on your phone should not be a password on anything on your phone. You're opening yourself up to, again, that's one of the first half dozen things they're going to try on the internet banking if you get into the phone. Biometrics I've touched on. Come back to that. Losing your phone, you know, what happens with the banks, apps and wallets. Again, the strong password, the biometrics is going to make it harder for them to do it. Report to the bank who can stop all your cards, and ring telco, they can deactivate the phone. So normally your phone will actually turn off. So if someone does a port on your phone will actually turn off because it's being moved across to the other person. So if you're at home and you're in a normal situation and your phone just is showing it's no longer connected, jump on to your telecommunications company. How does the bank attempt to protect me? So this is a hard question to answer, to be fair. So security initiatives in place to try and protect your accounts. So the banks run enormous fraud detection tools to reduce fraud. There's back-end rules that they put into the systems that constantly review and adjust to what's happening out in the market at that point in time. So it picks up automatic alerts. There's a normal activity. So for this, I'll use an example. So I've got a handicapped brother, and he had to have a medical test done that I think they only do about 500 a year in the public system. So the company that, the medical company that does these tests is actually over in one of the Sweden, Norway or something or other. So I asked for an invoice and they sent it over and I said, oh, hang on a second, this is an overseas company. It came to a doctor, so we knew it was all above board. I jumped on and I made the payment. I'm the bank manager, jumped on, made the payment. Immediately the payment stopped. I got a message back saying that the payment has failed. All my banking was locked. Contact Bendigo Bank. So I rang the office, explained what I'd done, who I was, where the information came from, and because it was all above board, the stop was taken off and I could put the process through. So the bank system has picked up. Here's Matthew Gallop. He works in Sandringham, he lives locally. All of a sudden he's doing a transaction to an overseas entity. The stop has been placed on.
A certain amount of money on that?
Well, this was $500, Phil, so it wasn't a large amount. So I'm not sure. I mean, we have probably it's hard to say we're one branch. We probably have one person every 2 or 3 weeks who come in and say, the bank stopped my accounts, or being contacted by the bank about a transaction. They want to confirm that it was me that did it. So the banks do have these fraud detection. Are they foolproof? Absolutely not. You know, I'm not going to stand here and say that it's not going to work. We wouldn't be having this conversation if the ability to stop all these things was possible. But it's trying to get in front of it and trying to be aware. What can the bank do to recover funds lost? I anticipate it's a bit like the police, that a certain amount of resources are available. The banks will contact the other banks. You need to understand that from the bank's point of view, if the money's going out of a Bendigo account to a CBA account, for argument's sake, we need CBA to act on our advice that we think this money has been transferred to a fraudulent account, exactly as we would expect them to do the same. So there is a communication between the banks. Fraud alerts are created. How quickly they're acted upon can obviously vary between banks, resources, number of transactions. As touched on, if it's going into a bank account or it's being done by a telegraphic transfer via an overseas bank, there is some way of trying to getting hold of the funds or chasing the funds. Cryptocurrency, it's gone, as has already been told. And there's emails that go out to tell people to go and withdraw some money for some fantastic idea. Go and get some money, get cash out of the bank and go down to, I'll pick Western Union, there's nothing against Western Union at all, but go into the post office and send the money to Western Union. And the emails that I've seen says, don't tell your bank about this. So if you're getting an email that's telling you to do something and don't discuss it with your bank, there's a fair chance that there's something really wrong. So yeah, talk to the bank. One is that you get a phone call from your bank, and the message will be that your account has been compromised. So what the bank has done for you is set up a separate bank account for you to move your money across to safely. They'll say, Matthew, we've opened an account under Matthew Gallop with ANZ Bank. Here's the BSB account number, move the money across to that account. Do you think it sounds fair and reasonable? You move the money across. The issue is that, and it was touched on by Colin, was that at the moment, a very, very large majority of the banks, I believe only one major bank, actually checks the bank account names of these accounts when the funds are transferred. It's not a requirement under the regulatory bodies at the moment, and again Colin touched on that could change, but you need to be aware that while you're told this account's under your name, there is no check done by the banks. So it's purely sent by the BSB and the account number. So you need to double check. Just quickly, a couple of quick ones. Checking the invoice details touched on. If you're not sure, ring. We have so many people come in and they do transfers to other banks. We ask them, what is it for and where did you get the information? If they got it from an email, let's ring them. So we will ring those people and say, confirm your details. Any money going to a solicitor, a real estate agent, these are the big amounts, these are the ones they love. We ring the real estate agent or the solicitor and check. So just don't accept bank account numbers that you're given. Make contact unless you paid them in the past and it hasn't been a problem. And so for your 30 seconds more, two quick ones. It doesn't matter who you are and don't be embarrassed by it. We would have down at Sandringham at least one person a week, minimum, who comes in who's been scammed. I've got a CPA, so a very knowledgeable person, you would think very switched on, has lost over $200,000 to crypto scams. So it's everybody. Don't be scared by it. I've got a friend who I worked in CBA, I worked for CBA for 17 years. He was 20 years in Commonwealth Bank. He moved his bank across 5 years ago. He rang me the other day. He works out of the banking industry. He's moved $20,000 to his cryptocurrency. He's now got another company that can get the money back for him, which is another scam. So therefore, and he asked me, do I pay them $5,000 to get my 20 back? I said, mate, you worked in the bank with me for 20 years. You know what this is all about. Granted, it's a whole lot worse than it was. So, ask people. I think that's been touched on over and over again. If you're not sure, you're not expected to be banking specialists, you're not expected to be scam specialists. If something doesn't make sense, ask. Get on the phone, talk to someone you know, talk to the bank, and yeah, just talk to somebody. Thank you very much.
Black book, quickly.
Oh, very quickly. There's a new little black book. It's been around for years, but this one is July 2023, so it's just been released. There's 20 pages of scams, and that's why we haven't gone across what every scam is. So there's 20 pages of scams in there. They haven't turned up as yet. You can get them from ScamWatch, I think it is. Next week we'll have about 150, 200 in the branch. So by all means, drop down to Bendigo Bank.
You don't have to be a customer.
Absolutely not. Thanks, Matthew.
Jeff's got a scam video he's been itching to show. He sent it to me during the week. I saw it 6 times. But Jeff wants to show it, so we're on time. We're on time.
It's hard to get the microphone off, Phil. Matthew's actually mentioned this scam. It's a terribly serious scam where you're rung up and told that your bank account has been affected. There's a very good little video which is done by Westpac. The thing is that you must not answer those, you must not act, you must hang up. That's the only way to say, really. Hopefully bring that together.
It'll come. Be patient.
Hi there, it's me, Ben, from Westpac. But how can you be sure I'm really from Westpac? It's hard to be certain, and scammers are taking full advantage of this. With a growing number of scammers impersonating large financial institutions, it's important to consider whether the voice on the other end of the phone is there to help you or scam you. Welcome to Scam Spot. Here you can see my face, and that counts for a lot. But many interactions with your bank will be via the phone, email or SMS, interactions you are right to be wary of. In a world where personal information is getting less and less personal, it can feel quite normal to get a call from a seemingly trusted bank and have your personal information recited to you. But here's where it can go wrong. Scammers of late are targeting victims by impersonating banks, warning customers their funds are at risk, and in order to keep them safe, the customer needs to transfer their money to a new account, strangely often at a completely different bank. The scammers will go the extra mile by using spoofing software to make it appear as though the call or text is coming from your bank, and your phone will slide the message in line with previous genuine messages from the bank, making them seem legitimate. The scammer's goal is to get you to make payments willingly from your account. Here are a few tips to avoid falling for this scam. 1. Beware when a bank unexpectedly contacts you. If you do receive a cold call, get the reference number, hang up and call back on an independently sourced number. All credible organisations welcome this level of customer caution. 2. Don't immediately respond if the banker requests you to urgently action something. If you are asked to complete an action while on the phone, it's very likely dodgy. 3. Banks do not require you to move money to keep it safe, and especially not to an account at a different bank. 4. Anyone sharing your personal information with you to gain your trust or requesting you to read out security codes or passwords is likely scamming you. Hang up on them. The information is likely being fraudulently obtained. If you are ever unlucky enough to experience fraud, banks may call and ask you to choose a new password or get you to delete any viruses on your device. All other security steps will be undertaken by the bank, including securing your funds and sending you a new card. The bank will not ask you to transfer your funds elsewhere. Knowing who you are dealing with online or on the phone is tough, and it's worth taking a minute to call back and confirm. It could save you a world of trouble.
These videos, by the way, they're all from Westpac, as you saw, but there's a whole series of them. All you need to do is go to YouTube and just Google Westpac videos. There's a whole series of them, and they're quite excellent, aren't they?
I spent all the week on them.
Yeah, I know. I know more about scandal. Anyway, I just want to move on here. Everyone knows about the mum scam. Yeah? Now this, Matthew talks about phone porting. I don't mean to get technical here. I'm sure, where's he gone? Where's Dimitri gone? Dimitri, I don't want to get too technical, but there's two things. There's phone porting, when somebody actually takes over your phone. That's what Matthew was talking about. But there's also this phone spoofing. It's a lovely word, isn't it? But phone spoofing is where, in fact, they just take over your number. Your phone, say somebody spoofed my phone. I've still got my phone, but you've got my phone number. So you can use my phone number and pretend that you're somebody, like my daughter. That's the mum scam. And because it's within the actual phone number, you get a phone number with your daughter's name. Now, this video I'm going to show you is really quite terrifying, and it's where scams are probably going. And we're showing you. We've debated about whether we should show you this video because it might worry you, but it's best to be worried and to know what might be available, and we'll tell you how to handle it too. So this is an American video. Everything happens in America, doesn't it? But anyway, this is an American video. He's going to talk for a minute about 7 scams. Don't worry, we're not going to cover 7 scams. We just got to go through a little bit of an intro.
Well, it's time again for the video that I unfortunately have to make every year with the latest scams, whether they're brand new scams or scams that are becoming newly popular. This time I have 7 new scams to talk about, and some of them are very clever, and of course the best way to protect against them is to simply know about them, so make sure you pay attention and watch all the way through. So, let's get into it. Starting off with number 1, we have a scam called virtual kidnapping, which I think is one of the most evil scams I've heard about in a long time. It probably deserves its own video, but here's the basics. How this scam works is a victim will receive a phone call that appears to be from a family member, but it's actually a scammer who has spoofed that family member's phone number. And then the scammer will actually pretend to have kidnapped that family member or friend. So when you go to pick up, they'll say, I have your mom hostage, or whatever family member, and they'll usually have an accomplice in the background who is screaming or yelling or crying and making fake noises to make you think that that's your family member and that they stole their phone and are calling you from them and demanding payment, or else they're going to hurt them. So it's pretty evil. Sometimes the scammer will actually look on social media and try to find people who are on vacation, because probably this person told their family members that they're going on vacation, so they might be more likely to believe that they were kidnapped while traveling. A lot of families worry when someone goes out of the country, for example, anyway. But believe it or not, it actually gets worse, because these days the technology exists to actually clone someone's voice using just a few seconds of audio sample, and there have been cases where a scammer uses this technology to clone someone's voice and call family members pretending to be them. So the family member will get a spoofed phone call appearing to come from this person, appearing to be this person on the phone talking and asking for the person to send money because whatever crisis is going on. Maybe they're saying, I'm kidnapped, or maybe they're saying I'm in jail and I need bail, whatever reason. And I think as this technology becomes more accessible, it'll become more common. So you want to know about this ahead of time. However, even if this happens to you and you know it's almost certainly a scam, but you want to be sure just in case, there's several telltale signs that it is a scam. One thing is that if you demand verification or proof of life or something, the scammer will probably just make more threats and deny you to do that. So if you say, send a picture of this person or something like that, they'll probably just say, no, if you don't send the money right now, I'm gonna hurt them even more, or something like that. They'll just outright refuse, even though it's probably in their best interest, if this was really the case, to actually prove that they have what they say they do. And also, they will go to great lengths to get you to not hang up the phone, because they know that if you actually text the person back at the number that they're spoofing or call them back, they're not going to get the phone call. The real person is, and then they'll immediately be able to know that it was a scam. So if you say something like, well, I'm going to hang up and call back to make sure you actually have the phone, they are going to give you every reason why you should not do that and that you'll regret it if you do, and that sort of thing. So one thing you could try if you really are not sure if this is the real deal, you could send a text message to this person who is supposedly calling you and say, I just sent you a text message, what does it say? And if this person on the other line, who supposedly has that phone, can't tell you what the text message is, because they obviously wouldn't receive it because it was spoofed, then you know it's a scam, 100%. Or you can even say something like, hey, I'll pay you triple if I'm able to hang up and call you back and you pick up. And even though that seems like a great deal, they still won't do it. They'll say, no, you better not hang up, whatever excuse. The thing with all these types of scams is they want you to pay, they want you to pay immediately, and they want you to not have a chance to verify anything. Now, one thing to note is if you're on a landline, be careful if you go to hang up and then try to call back, because there's actually a lot of phone companies where if you hang up and the other person doesn't, it will actually keep the line connected. So when you go to pick up the phone again after hanging up, you may still be talking to that scammer. This is actually the basis of another type of scam called a delayed disconnect scam. I did make a video about it in the past, so I'll have that pop out. So if you're on a cell phone, you don't have to worry about this, but just be aware of it. So anyway, to sum this up, if you get a phone call from supposedly a friend or family's number and it is some hostage taker or even appears to be the person themselves talking, but they're asking for money, be extremely suspicious and maybe verify using another method. Maybe call them from another phone or have some kind of password set up in case of emergency, something like that. All right, now before we continue, I want to give a big thanks to today's sponsor, Guardio, which is relevant to this video. Guardio is a browser extension that provides real-time protection from all sorts of threats while browsing the web. For example,
finish it there. So, Lisa, you were nodding there.
I was interested in that video about the virtual kidnapping because it was on my list and I didn't get to talk about it, but it's happening in Victoria. A little bit different and perhaps even more heinous than that. The ones that we've seen are where they contact the victim and basically say, you know, like you're going to get charged or arrested or something, or for some reason they've got to pay money somewhere and that person doesn't have the money to pay, and you know the offender, well, maybe if you call mum or dad they might give you the money, and actually convince the first caller, the victim, to call their own parents and say, I'm kidnapped, send the money, and actually go into hiding, because the offenders tell them, go into hiding, don't answer any other calls from your friends or family, because then they'll know you're okay. So until they give you the money, you just need to not answer them. And we've actually had examples of people going overseas to hide out, and then our problem is we actually can't contact the original victim, and we have to investigate that as a live kidnapping until we can locate that original person who's actually themselves telling their own family, no, I've been kidnapped, you need to supply this money. So in some ways it's simpler and less tech savvy than what you've just seen on the video, but it is actually a real thing that's only come up probably in the last 12 months. It may have happened in the past, but certainly in Victoria, we were getting notifications of these in the last 12 to 18 months and trying to get ourselves up to speed on how it's happening. So yeah, certainly.
Lisa, I've been surprised how many young girls go overseas on their own.
I go overseas on my own. Well, I haven't, not yet, but...
I suppose like all these things, I mean, when you get, you just got to not panic. I mean, it's totally understandable that you would if you got a phone call, but it's probably a scam, and I don't know how we handle it really, but if it happens, and I hope it never happens to any of you or me for that matter, don't assume it's real. You know, try and step back if that's possible, and try and follow some of those steps. And I hope it never happens.
Or ring Jeff.
Yeah, ring me. There's one other. We talked about the fake email scam. I've got another little very quick little video. This is happening all the time here now. There's the famous Bowls Club, Tacoma Golf Club. I think lost $100,000 because they paid an invoice that had been doctored. So they can intercept your emails. They can intercept if you just get a bill with a PDF on it. They can change the BSB. They can change the so your money goes to a different bank account. This particular Dandenong Golf Bowls Club paid the invoice, $100,000, and a few weeks later the poor old tradie says, where's my money? Because of course the money has been paid, but it's got to somebody else's bank account. There's nothing you can do about it other than, as I think it was Colin said, ring the person. You must always, if you get a bill over your phone nowadays, or by email or a PDF, you've got to check the BSB with the supplier. There's no other option. I mean, it's stupid, isn't it? But you have to do it. But this is a very quick video.
You're about to pay a deposit on a new house. You receive an email from a familiar address, your solicitor, and you triple check that the amount, BSB and account number are correct. This is the biggest payment you've ever made, and you don't want to make a typo and pay the wrong person. All correct? Pay. You didn't make a typo, but you did pay the wrong person. The thing is, you may have been sent the wrong details to begin with, and that large sum has now gone to a scammer. Welcome to ScamSpot. Business email compromise scams or payment redirection scams happen when a recipient receives a legitimate-looking email requesting a payment to a new or updated account details. In 2022, these scams saw Australians lose a total of $224 million. So how does it work? You might receive an email from a supplier or a known contact requesting payment of an invoice, such as a house deposit. Scammers hack email systems all the time. It's a lot easier than hacking into someone's internet banking. A scammer gets into the system of a business, intercepts the email requesting the payment, and makes changes. The letterhead is correct, the business name and email address remain the same, but it's a totally new BSB and account number. They've set a trap for the victim to pay them directly into the rogue account. This scam is perpetrated against all businesses, but it is particularly effective in businesses that receive large one-off payments from individuals, like paying a conveyancer a house deposit, or paying a builder for renovations. And don't let the name fool you, business email compromise isn't just for businesses. This is perhaps the hardest scam to spot of all, since it's a bill you expected to pay anyway, and victims can lose millions in a single transaction. Here are a few tips to avoid falling for the trap. Verify any banking information verbally when you receive requests for new, urgent or redirected payments, and ensure you verify through a phone number you have sourced yourself. Don't call a number that's provided to you within the email or on the invoice. Request to pay your suppliers using a Pay ID. Pay ID displays the registered payee name, so if it's not your intended recipient, you will know. Use multi-factor authentication and dual payment approvals where available. If you are a small business, make sure your email servers are secured with two-factor authentication to avoid people hacking into your email and sending out fake invoices. It's also crucial to ensure that staff are well trained and know not to click on any strange emails that come in. It's important to remember that any form of electronic communication can be hacked. Being aware that scams can come from seemingly trusted sources can save you a whole world of trouble.
They're very good emails, aren't they? Shocking. I'm just going to very quickly wrap up some of the golden rules to avoid the 8 golden rules. I think our friends from CyberCX have given us some more complicated ones than these ones, but which are probably more than essential. But these are the basic things that the 8 golden rules as I see it. Be alert, always be on guard. It's so easy, isn't it? I mean, it's so easy to get taken in. We all do it. We all think. You've got to be on guard the whole time. You've got to believe everything is a scam. And it's so sad, but that's the fact of life today. Don't assume the website, brochure, phone caller, texter, emailer is genuine. You've got to assume everyone's a fraud. Isn't it terrible? That's the world today. You can't believe a thing. Do not, you all know this, I'm sure, but I bet you do. I bet you click on links. I do, still. I did one today, actually. but because you're not thinking about it. It seems so genuine, doesn't it? And you're expecting a parcel, and an email arrives saying there's a parcel. So you're expecting one, so you click on it. Well, don't. You just can't. You just can't afford to. Do not call phone numbers in text. That's what the point on that video. A lot of the people will get a text and there's a phone number on it, and so they'll use that phone number. That's a scam number, not the real number. You've got to look it up separately and by find somebody said a piece of an invoice or something. Know who you're dealing with. That's again an obvious thing. If you know who you're dealing with, okay, but you've got to really know who you're dealing with before you. But this is particularly true with shopping scams. You go onto these websites and think, oh, I'd like to buy that, and who knows whether it's genuine or not. It's best not to buy it, I think. So I don't buy much.
He looks at Mary. He looks at Mary.
Don't divulge your personal information. I'm afraid that's how happened, didn't it, Lorraine? You mustn't give out your personal information to somebody over the phone. That was being covered. Again, shopping scams, this is very real in shopping scams to use Bitcoin, and on social media scams to use Bitcoin. So if they're asking for Bitcoin, probably it's a scam. We've had that too, Daniel went through that. But I didn't know actually, Dimitri, our wizard, the computer man, told me that you can actually get what do you call it, virus controls on the phone. I didn't know that. Did you know that? I didn't know that. I know you have virus protection on the computer, but you can actually have it on your phone as well. But Dimitri says that you don't get that many viruses on the phone, right, Dimitri?
Not really, no.
No. But if you download an app, he told me this the other day, if you download an app, one of these obscure apps, it just might have a virus in it, mightn't it? Is that right?
Well, it might have some malicious component there, just stealing
a malicious component. So beware when you download apps. Probably the ones from, from Apple are okay, I suppose. Are they? More or less? The point is you don't know, do you? But the obscure ones. You've always covered that, use complex passwords and change them regularly. But I'm guilty of that. I have to say my phone password, not to say it was my bank one. So right, finished. Right, that was Daniel's advice. Thank you, Phil. Thank you very much. Over to you. Yeah. Dimitri, come up here now. No, Phil is going to do the panel now. This is where it's over to you. This is Dimitri. I've already introduced Dimitri. If you ever want anything fixed on your computer, here's your man. He's absolutely brilliant. He told me that he made 3 computers in about 1980 or something, didn't you? Yeah. Of course he did.
Soldered a bunch of microchips.
But just solder a few microchips and use the TV set as the body.
Yeah, that was a TV set.
So
we don't use his surname because we can't pronounce it.
So, all the other gentlemen.
So we get the panel to come out, bring a chair with you.
Bring a chair.
Just go along the front here.
Grass.
And we've got roving mics, haven't we?
Bring your own chair.
Yes, we've got roving mics.
Okay, here's probably the best part of the evening, we think. Half the speakers. Some people have got to go, that's good. We're aiming to finish by 8:15 because we have to be out of here. We're going well, it's only 20 to 8. But it depends on how much comment we get and what questions we get. But take this off and we can pass it around. So now the floor is yours. So let's see what interest we can generate. Were you going to interview Lorraine? Right.
Thank you very much. Firstly, congratulations on this seminar tonight. It's been absolutely fantastic. I think everybody here has learned something. My first question is to Acting Senior Sergeant Lisa. Who do you report a scam to?
There's multiple ways that you can report a scam. So you can, one of the common ways now is report cyber online, and often people can be referred to that if they go into a station. The reason for that is often scams where we can't identify they've occurred in Victoria. We might recommend that someone report that to report cyber online, and then that gets assessed by our cybercrime squad, and then they disseminate them out to local CIUs. Firstly, because crimes are reported, or frauds or cyber crimes are reported and have to be investigated by the jurisdiction, either where the offender is located, and often that's usually not known in the first instance, or where the money goes. So if your money goes overseas, that's overseas jurisdiction. If the money goes to an account in New South Wales, it's New South Wales Police. So you might go to a police station and tell them about your crime, and they say you need to report it on Report Cyber. It's for that reason, so it can be assessed by our cybercrime squad and then disseminated to the correct jurisdiction. At the moment, the resources for our cybercrime squad are limited, and they've had an extreme backlog, and those have been filtering through where, because of their lack of resources, they were not able to make inquiries with banks, because often the first piece of information is known as your bank account, and that's the information that you provide in your report, and cybercrime squad are unable to make that inquiry with the bank themselves because of resourcing, so they send it out to a local CIU, and that goes to where the victim is located. So then it comes to us. We would then make an inquiry with the bank, get that information back, and then it might go on to the correct jurisdiction. So you can report it that way. Obviously you can go direct into a police station and make your report. And they might refer you, or they should take your advice, and then many types of fraud investigations then handed over to detectives to investigate.
In regard to assisting people get their money back and giving information to the police.
Yeah, look, I obviously can't talk in relation to giving information to the police. That's being looked after by a fraud squad, a fraud department. I think the banks do make a lot of effort. It has gone absolutely crazy in the last couple of years, and I think all the banks are probably understaffed in this area, and certainly I know Bendigo Bank have taken on an enormous amount of extra staff in this area to try to be on it faster than we can. I think when the banks look at these things, they look at the individual's involvement. So if they've been completely scammed by none of the things, we have situations where people, yes, get a phone call and people provide their access number and everything like that. They're almost impossible for the banks to be able to stop. So if a criminal rings you and says, I'm from the bank, let me into your account, and you give them all the details, your access codes, the whole lot, it's obviously very hard for the bank. In relation to refunding money, the hard part gets, and it was raised actually as one of the items I think in the UK now, that they there's in certain circumstances the banks are refunding the funds. But there is some fairly tight controls in relation to, again, yeah, might be the best thing to talk about. But the reality is, once there's that indication of the bank saying that we'll refund, you then have people scam the other way. So for argument's sake, I have a friend who lives in Hungary. I'd send him $200,000, or I give him access to my bank account. He moves $200,000 across to his bank account. I go to my bank and say I've been scammed for $200,000. If the banks have to give the $200,000 back, I get it. I turn around to my mate in Hungary and say, give me back half of what I gave you and make a profit. So there's always going to be where people take advantage of the situation if there's a situation where it's an automatic thing. So these are all investigated individually, and the circumstances always are different. You know, there's different situations, different involvement, and the bank at the moment, yeah, just has to make a judgment call on that.
Thank you. That wasn't a go at you personally.
No. I expected a question, to be honest, at some stage.
Yeah, look, if I could just give one case study, which was actually the subject of examination in the Financial Services Royal Commission, involving the bank that I worked with for 3 years after I retired for the second time. And this involved a person who was involved in a romance scam, and he was encouraged to pay 25,000 pounds. So he had to go and convert it into from Australian dollars into pounds to be able to send it across to the United Kingdom. And so he went to a branch of the ANZ Bank and said, oh, you know, I'm going to buy some gold in London and I need $50,000 in my money to be converted into pounds in order to buy the gold, and I'm going to go over to London to pick up the gold from somewhere and deliver it to someone. And the bank manager actually facilitated all this. And then when we had actually had a look at the circumstances, and we said, oh, gee whiz, really, you should have asked a few questions about what was going on here. So in fact, the bank compensated the customer in full. So this is really backing up what you just said, the individual circumstances where the bank is directly involved in effect facilitating something which is obviously shonky. This poor old chap, his wife had died 3 months beforehand, and he was in this sort of. So I think the bank manager should have picked this up, and the banks, generally speaking, in those sort of circumstances, will always hop in and compensate the customer in those sorts of unusual circumstances, but clearly there was almost a fiduciary relationship between the customer and the bank, and therefore the bank has to do more in those sorts of circumstances.
Thanks, Colin. What about a question for Dimitri?
It says that I'm writing to inform you about a recent data breach suffered by Pareto Phone Company, a former fundraising service provider that provided services to Stroke Foundation during the period from 2009 to 2017. The data breach occurred in April, but it was only brought to our attention in August. But what I'm telling you is that apparently other charities have also been affected. They say investigations indicate that no government identification documents, health information, bank account, credit card or financial information was collected by Pareto Phone. But they will have name, address, date of birth in some cases, a landline phone number, a mobile phone number and an email. So I just thought it might be a good idea to warn everybody to be careful. I mean, if you're sending money to these people, you're probably doing it via your email, via your credit card. So,
thank you very much. Dimitri, just tell us a bit about when you go and help people with their computers. What do you find people are doing wrong?
Well, I can talk from my so-called field experience. Usually people call me when something like that happens, some kind of breach. And from my experience, I can tell, in most cases, the scam is not actually sophisticated. Usually it's a phone call from overseas telling you that your account is going to be terminated, whichever account is bank or your NBN account or your email and something like that. So in most cases people actually react adequately, which means they just simply hang up and say, well, whatever happens, happens, which is actually the right thing to do. So, and I always tell them, neither bank, neither Telstra, neither anyone will actually call you and tell you that you need to take action. For example, to preserve your NBN account or your email or something like that. Telstra specialists, if a scammer calls you and tells you that your computer, that the words they use actually quite interesting. They said, your computer is causing so much trouble in our system can't keep up with it, we have to fix it urgently. And Telstra will never ever do it. What they do, they just simply cut your account, cut your line, NBN, and wait for your call. That's the rule. They never ever call you. You call them. So, in some cases, I would say maybe 50, maybe 70, 30% cases, people take action, actually they let a person into the computer. Usually it's a remote access software of some kind, or extension in the browser. Well, they use various interesting techniques. So when they get to your computer, again, two different kinds of scam. Either they try to steal as much information as they can, or they try to trick you to, they're placing it as a service call. We're a good company, we're trying to help you, we're trying to solve the problem, we will install an antivirus software for you, and they sometimes try to show lots of errors on your computer. So your computer is running slow, and we need to fix it, see how many errors you have, and people normally say, yes, of course, let's fix it. And during the course, they normally ask you, okay, you have to pay for the antivirus software, which money goes to hackers, and they sell you services, they sell you various other things, computer-related, which are not actually, they're not actually stealing any information, they're actually providing a service you don't need. Yes, and you have to pay for it. And then they ask you to fill out the form online, usually your username, password here, there, credit card numbers, just things like that, just to keep it protected, so they say. And they might actually use it later to actually get money out of your account. So, in the meantime, because your browser stores most of the passwords, many people actually go for convenience and they just simply store their passwords in their browser. They can download a complete list from the browser, just complete list of passwords. The list looks like that: site, username, password. And they can do whatever they like with it. So what I do, when I come, and first I ask, what happened? What did they tell you? How far did they go? What information you told them, revealed to them? And if they didn't get into the computer as such, I actually don't need to do anything. I just quickly check what's happening there. If there's no malicious activity, I basically tell them if something like that happens again, just hang up, don't talk to them. I had actually quite a few interesting cases. So I come, I claim, everything is nice, cancel credit cards or just put some kind of block there. We don't need to do it frequently. So if they didn't go far, we don't actually need to block anything. So, but what happens next is quite a few people actually were scammed twice. So, first phone call, everything is nice and clean. Then they call again in a few days and they say, well, I'm calling from the bank, looks like you've been scammed and we just need to investigate it a little bit further. And they try to get into the computer again. Once it was actually even more interesting. There was a phone call from Australia, they said federal police were investigating the case. We need to urgently collect some evidence from your computer. So your cooperation will be required and you need to give us access here and there, and again, they get scammed. So,
okay. Vivian?
Hi Phil.
Hi John.
Hope you're feeling better.
Oh yes.
This is a promotion of the Neighbourhood Watch and a very anecdotal story about Qantas frequent flyer points. I'm pretty well travelled and I've got in excess of, I think, 250,000 points, frequent flyer points. I received an email from Qantas saying that I was a long-standing frequent flyer member, and because of Qantas, they're going to be offering special rates to clients like me, and it came from Qantas Relations. The next day, and I of course applied, I provided my PIN number, and of course the inevitable could happen. What happened? I could use my frequent flyer points to have a very extensive holiday on frequent flyer points. The next day, I walked into the kitchen and my wife had this magazine from Neighbourhood Watch. And in an article from your esteemed self, telling people to be very wary of a promotion from Qantas. So it just emphasises the point that the website was so authentic that you couldn't question it, and it came from Qantas Relations. It was just, and they had my details. And what I was stressing to people is that if you can read those magazines from Neighbourhood Watch, I could have been saved a considerable scam by just opening up and reading the magazine.
Is that the one with my photo in it? And you say, well, got some copies out there for people haven't seen it. Yes, up the back there. Vivian, move, Vivian, come on. We're going to finish by 8:15, so we've got a few minutes yet.
Thanks everyone for the input. It's very, very useful to everyone. Colin had touched on the dark web, and just to the panel in general, why is it, because there's so many nasty pasties out there, why has it not been obsoleted? Why?
Yeah, look, it's a good question, and it is a very, very mean and nasty place to hang out. Our very talented guys and girls spend a lot of time there, doing a range of things, but in particular, if a client has suffered a breach, we're actually out there looking for credentials that have been compromised to work out the scale of the breach. So we sometimes have to actually get into that really nasty space. This is kind of actually a similar point to the problems we're grappling with the banks and also with the telcos. When the internet was built, same with the phone system, it was built on a trust basis, and the trust was only universities can access it, only research and DARPA can access it, so the communications infrastructure under it was open. And that was really exciting because it allowed us to do all these really generative, interesting things. Same was true of banking. It was secure by design because you had to go to a bank, or telco, you had to have your landline. So it's less about shutting it down because it's the carrier layer that underpins it. It's kind of the plumbing. But it's making sure we've got the right plumbers and the right valves and stop points to stop getting into it and stop getting out of it. And the same is true of kind of the banking system. We need it at a certain point to be open, otherwise it'd shut down all the things that are useful. But we need to make sure those valves all the way in or out are controlled. I hope that makes a bit of sense as to kind of why we can't just stand it down. But the AFP and state law enforcement agencies do, and kind of to Will's point earlier, to the extent that they can, attempt to hack back and conduct disruption operations on the dark web as well. So, and that's something that they're partnering with the Australian Signals Directorate more and more to do. So we are actually pushing back in that space as well.
Okay, a couple more questions. I'll give her a rest in a minute. Lorraine, would you come up, please? Lorraine's one of our friends. She was.
Where's that green shirt?
Tell us about yourself, Lorraine.
My scam or me? I'd rather talk about me. Well, I'm one of those ones that felt very embarrassed, and I couldn't talk about it for about at least 6 months until my family said, "Mum, no one's been killed, you've lost some money, but, life moves on." So I then went to 2 of the banks, CBA, didn't get a lot of sympathy from them, purely because how my scam started was they phoned me late Sunday morning and said...
Who did a scammer?
A scammer, yeah, and told me that the NBN was at the end of the street and that there was a problem with my connection. So I was on my own, I believed all this, and then they said, "You'll need to open up your computers so we can fix it." So Lorraine opened up her computer, and this went on for about 2 hours, that they were putting a program onto my computer.
You're on the phone?
Yeah. So I opened my computer and then went on, as I said, for a long time, and I kept saying, "Why is it taking so long?" And they kept saying in this lovely voice, "Ma'am, we're only trying to help you." So, of course, Ma'am believed it. Anyway, after a long time, I thought, there's something wrong here. So I pulled the plug, and I heard the man say, "Oh, she's pulled the plug." And I thought, well, you're not helping this man any. So anyway, the next port of call was, my computer went completely black. And I thought, what do I do now? So after all of this, about 10 minutes, I thought, I'm going to go into the bank, go to my net bank, and sure enough, 20,000 had been taken out. And I just froze. So I then tried to ring the bank, and they weren't terribly helpful in that they said, "You'll have to wait till the tomorrow because we don't transfer the money over straight away." So I
gave me a little bit of hope, shall I say. But anyway, I then went to the two banks and they weren't terribly sympathetic. So this was now about 3 weeks a month down the track, and I thought, I'll go to the police. Well, I'll have to say the policeman was very sympathetic. And he took all the details and I signed a statement there and then.
Down at Sandringham.
Down at Sandringham, I don't know, yes, Sandringham. And so then my daughter, after about another 3 weeks, I didn't hear anything back at that stage from the police. About another 3 weeks, my daughter said, well, Mum, let's write a letter to head office. And my daughter is an English teacher at year 12, so I thought, oh, well, let's go. So she wrote a letter with the suggestion that we were on the understanding that you didn't transfer the money straight away, that you held it, you know, a certain amount of time. So that was posted to head office, and about, I think it was 3 weeks later, the lady rang me from the Commonwealth Bank, who I think she said she was the manager of head office. Well, I didn't believe her. I argued with her. Anyway, so she convinced me in the end that they would be transferred. They had agreed to transfer the money back into my account next day. But the interesting thing of all of this to me was I got a phone call from Sandringham Police about a week later to see if I got the money back. And they said, in actual fact, the scammers did nothing wrong. And I found this unbelievable. And I said, well, please explain. And they said what they do is they create, they pay a student money, might be $200, I don't know, to create an account. They transfer the money across, which they can do legally, and then within probably 30 seconds it's gone. So my happy story was that I did get the money back. It took 4 months, but I still couldn't speak to anybody about it for months afterwards, and it's sort of only
That's why you didn't speak in the street.
Yeah.
I'm not sure who told you up here.
So that's my story.
Thank you, Lorraine. That's a real life story, isn't it? All right, Jeff, we've got a couple more minutes, haven't we? It's 8:11, 8:15 we're closing. Any other questions? Yes, yes.
I've got just a grant, just a general question about mobile phones, which we've had for 40 years, Grant, as we know. Now they can identify potentially fraudulent calls, but only recently it's Optus made noises about actually blocking them. Now, can you think of a reason other than just negligence and chasing market share why they can't actually block them?
It's a really good question.
Haven't done it
100%.
for 40 years.
Telcos were really good at, and have been really good at over the years, detecting activity that threatened the network, because cynically, the network was the product. I'm not throwing them under the bus, but that was what they looked for. If there were disruptions to the network that could impact the operation, they were on top of it. What they've been pivoting now to is kind of being pulled through, and I guess the other dimension to think about in terms of telco is it's a co-regulatory environment. It's highly regulated, but in a kind of fractured way. And telcos have, for better or worse, the ability to make some of their own industry codes and standards and those sorts of things. So some of the early attempts were done through voluntary codes to prevent, we've talked about porting fraud tonight, some voluntary codes to prevent that. But frankly, it took direct kind of government mandating of that to get any traction. And that's what we're seeing now. We're seeing a shift on the public expectation and then government regulation that is pulling the telcos because they do need to be regulated. That's not a good thing to say from a if you're a telco and you want to spend money, but it's a push and pull factor. So they do need to be brought along on the journey. And there are, this isn't a. I don't work for Telstra. Telstra has kind of lent it's got a cleaner pipes initiative. To that plumbing analogy, they've been looking at interrogating the traffic in a more detailed way. But in their defence, the capability, we experienced this massive upsurge of traffic, right? There was so much more, and it's only kind of now they've caught up and they can go deeper into it that they're getting a handle on it. But that's sadly going to be a constant kind of arms race with the bad guys using the same technology and then trying to monitor it. So I guess it's a push and pull of regulatory technology, but it's a fair point to say that their early concerns were about protecting the network. They're not about protecting individuals. But it's pretty clear now that the cost, the reputational cost of a breach is going to make it worth their while.
All right, we're at 8:15, that's it. Jeff? Right on time, aren't we, Jeff? Okay. All right, I'd just like to close off by thanking our speakers, Colin, the CyberX blokes, Cyber CX blokes, that's Grant and William. We really appreciate you spending time out here. At least you give it a bit of a checkered day. And what you don't realise with the police, when you deal with them, they do night shift. And we've been dealing with Catherine Wilkins, Commander Catherine Wilkins, and it actually knocks them around. But they absolutely get exhausted. And you think, oh, they're there all the time, you know, they're bureaucrats, whatever, but they are actually doing a lot of night shift, and it's a busy night shift too, isn't it? Yeah, so we just don't understand it as general public. And our little bloke from the school was good, wasn't he? Yeah. Now, just as a final sort of stitch up, I'd just like to break credit to this bloke over here, Jeff Bransbury. These things don't happen just automatically. He puts so much work into this. As you know, I've been sort of off-handed at the moment with a broken leg, but he just kept going right through the whole thing, and he did a magnificent job. And only Mary would know how much time and effort he puts into these things. And you should see my bloody emails. I have to open them. You'll ring me if I don't open them. So look, thanks everyone for coming. We're producing a video. Paul, one of our good friends at NHW Watch, is videoing the whole event. He's going to spend the next month editing it.
Yeah, about
And then we'll probably make it available to all the residents. Now, hopefully you filled in the registration sheet, so we've got your email address. Now, if you haven't done that, just contact us on our email address through NHW Watch, and we can send you. Is it going to be a link or a DVD or what? A link? A link. So that'll be good. And what we'll do is put Jeff's face on the link. So there'll be a photo of Jeff and me, with a link in between. All right, thanks everyone. I hope you had a good night.